We wish you a pleasant video viewing, dear viewers. In 1889, the Moulin Rouge opened on Montmartre in Paris. The photo shows its main asset. Charming Betty Grable and Marilyn Monroe in the 1951. November 1942. Lidditz, Pennsylvania. Small town in wartime. Mrs. Julian Bachman at home with her family. February 1942. Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Jane Mansfield in 1961. December 1942. Chicago, Illinois. One of the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad Streamliner diesel-electric locomotives. Photo of Audrey Hepburn in 1952. Disguise of British military equipment as elephants. India, we. American singer Al Johnson portraying a black man on the set of the movie Bar of Wonders, 1934. Ivan Unger, a member of the Flying Black Gnats, and Gladys Roy are shown playing tennis on the wings of an airplane in flight. Stunning Bridget Bardot in the 1950s. 3 late 1920s-era cars and about 10 people apparently camping or picnicking perilously near the edge of the Palouse River Canyon in Washington State. Oldreeve's new tricycle. Photo by Chas. W. Oldreeve, 1882. Dumont engineer James A. Craig demonstrates a simple dialing procedure on a completely automatic dial-direct mobile two-way radio telephone system in Clifton, New Jersey, on March 28, 1957. Model Lonnie Anderson in 1968. Nikola Tesla, 1856 to 1943, naturalized American physicist, sitting in his Colorado Springs laboratory with his magnifying transmitter. Surprised spectators look on in amazement as Miss Beth Pitt takes her pet fawn, Star Message, for a walk in Midtown, New York on November 16th. An Army Sikorsky R-5 helicopter undergoing record trials demonstrates its lifting power by carrying 17 persons and pilot aloft. As female onlookers wave in Bridgeport, the uniformed mob of smiling humanoid mice seen here were gathered for an early meeting of the Mickey Mouse Club in Ocean Park, California, circa 1930. 2 men in bikini at a beauty pageant in the 1960s. U.S. Army men casually seated around a table as one on horseback jumps over the table. Actress Rachel Welch in bikini in the 1960s.
September 1942, Washington, D.C. Sergeant George Campbell takes his girl to have some refreshments after the United Service Organization, USO, dance while he is at home on a weekend furlough.
September 1942, Fort Beaver, Virginia. George Campbell getting his injections at the reception center. Washington, D.C., 1917. Auto and motorcycle races at Benning Track. October 1942, Butte, Montana. School children on a pile of scrap which they gathered during the salvage campaign. October 1942, Butte, Montana. Salvage for victory. Truck crew on scrap salvage day. October 1942, Butte, Montana. Eating lunch at the scrap salvage campaign. November 1942, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania vicinity, Montourneau, former mine of the Pittsburgh Coal Company. assistant superintendent getting ready for a hunting trip. A nanny is out and about with a motorized stroller in London, 1922. Reporters and photographers observe an atomic bomb blast at the Nevada test site, 1952. A homeless man pleads for money as he hurries alongside King George V's carriage, 1920. A police officer issues a ticket to a woman for wearing a bikini on a beach in Italy, 1957. Sound finders who searched for incoming enemy bombers, 1917. July 1942, Haiti, Missouri. Cotton Carnival picnic. Boy eating.
July 1942. U.S. Rural Electrification Services. Miscellaneous scenes in Dunklin County, Missouri. Kennett, seat of Dunklin County, at election time. Courthouse Square.
July 1942, Haiti, Missouri. Cotton Carnival picnic. July 1942, Dunklin County, Missouri. Children in a consolidated rural school.
August 9, 1942. Interlochen, Michigan. National Music Camp, where 300 or more young musicians study symphonic music for 8 weeks each summer, reading the funny papers on Sunday morning.
July 1942, Decatur, Alabama. War Production Center, Ingalls Shipbuilding Company on the Tennessee River. July 1942, Florence, Alabama vicinity. Boys in swimming class at Boy Scout camp. July 1942, Haiti, Missouri. Rural Electrification Administration lineman inspecting a meter at a substation. Shooting female cyclists for French Vogue in 1971. June 1942, Florence, Alabama, Tennessee Valley Authority. Saturday afternoon. New York, 1903, R.M.S. Majestic Outward Bound Farewells. September 1942, New York, New York. Looking north-south on Broadway at Times Square. A circus performer in an aquarium car with crocodiles, Berlin, 1933. A visitor with a candle in her hand smiles at the large collection of skulls in the catacombs of Paris, 1935. The tactical trick of soldiers during the Mexican Revolution, 1913. Italian traveler Attilio Gaddi with 2 hired pygmies and a gorilla caught by them in the Belgian Congo, 1930. Exercises at the St. Willibrordus Mental Hospital, Netherlands, Henk Blansjar, February 14, 1956. Fans queue outside the Vogue Theater for the first screening of Star Wars, 1977. Police officers stopped traffic in New York so mothers holding kittens could cross safely, 1924. Washington, D.C., circa 1942. U.S. Capitol, East Front. Sentry posted outside of House Chamber. Schlorwagen. The bizarre German car that was super aerodynamic but very impractical, 1939.
January 1943. New York, New York. Italian Americans on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Italian grocery store owned by the Ronga brothers on Mulberry Street.
In Romania, a bear is used to treat a backache, 1946. We wish you a pleasant video viewing, dear viewers. Photo shoot of ladies on the beach, June 1972. Stunning Sophia Loren in 1955. The Senator and eventual President John F. Kennedy and his new bride, Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy, smiled during their wedding reception in Newport, Rhode Island, 1953. Anne Margaret and Elvis. Photo of young Muhammad Ali. Legendary photo of charming Marilyn Monroe on subway grate, 1952. Famous guests at the Crescendo. Robert Kennedy conversing with Edward Kennedy, 1962. Enchanting Jane Mansfield dance with young boy in the 1960s. Lucky boy. Bridget Bardot with her dog in the 1960s. Stunning Annette Funicello in the 1960s. American actress, singer Tina Louise in 1959. Photo of Jane Mansfield in 1957. A young man demonstrating against low pay for teachers, 1930s. Pretty Marilyn Monroe lifting dumbbells, 1951. From circa 1946 comes this 35mm Kodachrome of Jim and Jack Hardman and their Christmas train set in Upper Montclair, New Jersey. Charming Audrey Hepburn feeding pigeons in 1951. Kirk Douglas using pole to lift his sons, Joel and Michael, while training for his famous one-armed push-ups, 1955. Israeli underwater vehicle, 1967. Not everyone likes bikini, Miami Beach, 1980s. Salvador Dali, his mustache, and his newspaper. Jane Mansfield in a beautiful dress in 1956. Beautiful Betty Page in 1954. Photo of Bridget Bardot in 1955. This photo is after the stock market crash of 1929. It became an iconic photo of the era, highlighting the direct effect the stock market had on people. This photo is of Princess Elizabeth on duty with the armed forces during WE. The Beatles come to America in 1964. The top show in the late 70s and early 1980s was Happy Days. The show looked back at a simpler time in American history and gave our country a strong feeling of nostalgia as we watched Arthur Fonzarelli show us what the real August 1941. Farm boys in beer parlor on Sunday afternoon. Finnish community of Bruce Crossing, Michigan. James Dean loved his Porsche 550 Spider, as seen in this photograph. Not long after this image was taken. December 1940. War boom in a New England industrial town. Mr. and Mrs. Leslie Bryant in their trailer about 2 miles out of Bath, Maine. October 1938. Shafter, Kern County, California. Halloween party at FSA camp for migratory agricultural workers. November 1939. Main Street of Wendell, North Carolina. People on way to work in tobacco stem factory. Date on this randomly acquired Kodachrome, Jan 63N. Time, 9:54. Location, living room. Marilyn Monroe in 1957. Sophia Loren in the 1950s. Today in the Shorpy Showcase of Random Kodachromes, a slide dated November 73. New Jersey Cadillac, South Florida House. Hurry Up Harry, October 1939. Chaffee County, Colorado. Paul Arnold, son of Ephesus client. Herding turkeys. New York circa 1904. Goat carriages in Central Park. September 1960. New York. Demonstration to free Ukraine from Soviet rule outside the United Nations building during Nikita Khrushchev's visit. November 1942. Grenade throwers. Ready to make a shipment of pineapples to Hitler, Hirohito, and Co. An infantryman at Fort Beaver, Virginia. Photoshoot of Cathius T. George in the 1970s. Marilyn Monroe in bikini in 1950. July 1942. Detroit, Michigan. View from Fisher Building of traffic at 5:30 on 2nd Avenue at Grand Boulevard. July 1942. Washington, D.C. People's Drug Store lunch counter on G Street, N.W. At noon. June 1942. Washington, D.C. A bicycle rental shop on 22nd Street near Virginia Avenue, N.W. On Sunday, July 1942. Washington, D.C. Cashiers checking out customer purchases with ration book No. 1 at the Giant. July 1942. Lunchtime in the wartime capital. People's Drug Store on G Street, N.W. At noon. Enchanting Betty Page in 1953. Jane Mansfield in stunning gown in 1957. September 1942. Local dance hall in Richwood, Nicholas County, West Virginia. Photos document U.S. Department of Agriculture. September 1942. Richwood, Nicholas County, West Virginia. Saturday afternoon. A little boy hugging his best friend during lunchtime at Raphael Weil Public School in San Francisco, California in 1942. 3 young women eat spaghetti on inflatable mattresses at Island of Capri, 1939. Marilyn Monroe eating a burger in a car in 1951. She even eats beautifully. Pictured is Robert F. Kennedy sleeping on the floor of a plane during his 1968 presidential campaign. The Kennedys were known for being relatable, genuine people. Beautiful Dawn Grayson, 1967. Stunning photo of Tina Louise in 1954. We wish you a pleasant video viewing, dear viewers. Photo shoot of ladies in bikini on the beach, June 1972. English actress Margaret Lee in 1969. Stunning Jane Mansfield in 1956. Cary Grant found his peace alongside the beach at a beautiful home in Santa Monica. Paul Newman's original statement, 24 hours in a day, 24 beers in a case. Coincidence? I think not. However, it has never been proven that he ever said it. In this little behind-the-scenes peek, we see Barbara Stanwyck having makeup applied on the set of Clash by Night, a film noir drama. Marlon Brando has been in so many classic films and TV shows that we couldn't list them all if we tried. Many people discuss how many awards he won or his salacious personal life. Dorothy Dandridge, cuddling with her dog, Cheesy, at Orly Airport in Paris, France, 1962. Claudia Cardinali, dancing barefoot on a roof terrace in Rome, 1959. Enchanting photo shoot of Sophia Loren in 1955. Louis Armstrong performing an impromptu concert at MGM Studios during the production of High Society, 1956. Paul Newman leaning against his race car before the start of the Le Mans 24-hour race, June 11, 1979. Mel Ferrer and Audrey Hepburn sharing a kiss during a tennis match in Cap d'Antibes, France, 1956. It all started as a party for Sophia Loren that was put together by movie-producing company Paramount almost 60 years ago. The reason for that look was simply put fear. Marlon Brando, training for his film debut in The Men, 1950, the story of a paraplegic veteran. Yul Brynner arriving to the premiere of The Ten Commandments in his Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Roadster, 1956. The Beatles cooling off during a cover shoot for Life magazine in Miami, 1964. Samantha Fox in lingerie in the 1980s. This now iconic film, Reflections in a Golden Eye, was shot initially using a gold-tinted filter to give the movie a shading that would match the title. Audrey Hepburn with her fellow chorus girls, Oz Johansson and Enid Smeeden, on the rooftop of London's Cambridge Theatre, 1949. Grace Kelly and Cary Grant sharing a laugh on the set of To Catch a Thief, 1955. An 18-year-old George Harrison in Hamburg, Germany, 1961. Priscilla Presley photographed by Terry O'Neill, 1975. American actress Tina Louise, 1954. Sean Connery snapping pictures of Brigitte Bardot during the production of Shalako in Deauville, France, 1968. Brigitte Bardot dancing on a rooftop overlooking Paris, 1952. This wonderful image was captured behind the curtain after a performance of Sugar Babies, a Broadway musical that Rooney had starred in, his first ever. Marilyn Monroe taking singing lessons with bandleader Phil Moore at the Mocambo, 1949. Stunning Maria Whittaker in swimsuit. Former child star Shirley Temple reading a collection of fan mail in the living room of her Los Angeles home, 1944. Charles Bronson photographed by Giancarlo Botti, 1960. Swathed in bandages after a brutal beating scene in Dirty Harry, Eastwood rarely escapes mayhem in films. His fans appreciate that he gives more than he takes. Christmas P.J. as December 25, 1951. Grace and Sally clash in the latest episode of Minnesota Kodachromes. January 1942. Fort Worth, Texas. Meacham Field. Civilian pilot training. Students learning about wing construction. April 1941. House and Children in Negro Section, South Side, of Chicago, Illinois. January 1942, Fort Worth, Texas. Meacham Field, Civilian Pilot Training School. Instructor and students, control tower in background. Photo of Gail McKenna in the 1980s. January 1942, Fort Worth, Texas. Meacham Field, students working on plane motor at Civilian Pilot Training School. June 1942, Anacostia, D.C. Frederick Douglass Housing Project. Boy at the Playground, February 1936. Mexican Quarter of Los Angeles, California. Houses condemned to make space for the new Union Station. Average rental $8. Some houses have plumbing. Bustling Jacksonville, Florida, circa 1910. Forsyth Street looking east from Hogan. July 1942. Washington, D.C. Washington Yacht Basin. July 1942. Bridgeton, New Jersey. Facilities for workers employed at the Seabrook Farms. 4th of July picnic at Parvin Park. June 1942. Bridgeton, New Jersey. Seabrook Farms, several thousand acres, where bird's eye foods are produced. October 1941. Scenes in the Finger Lakes region. This diner depends on the truckers for its trade. Near Cortland, New York. June 1942. Washington, D.C. A bicycle rental shop on 22nd Street near Virginia Avenue N.W. On Sunday, December 1941. Washington apartment house turned into office space for the Foreign Function Bureau. January 1942. Fort Worth, Texas. View of Main Street and Tarrant County Courthouse. January 1942. Auto Graveyard U.S. Highway 80 between Fort Worth and Dallas. February 1942. Robstown, Texas. Farm Security Administration Migratory Farm Labor Camp. Packing plant. Radishes. January 1942. Memphis, Tennessee. Cars parked on Mississippi River levee. January 1942. Roadside stand U.S. Highway 80, Texas, between Dallas and Fort Worth. Al Pacino photographed by Jack Mitchell during his Broadway run of Richard III at the Court Theater, New York City, 1979. Linda Carter arriving at London Airport for the Miss World contest at Royal Albert Hall, 1972. Washington, D.C., circa 1908. The New Willard, Pennsylvania Avenue and 14th Street N.W. Grace Kelly's strapless white gown from To Catch a Thief, 1955, has always been one of my favorite movie costumes. Jamie Lee Curtis and her mother, Janet Lee, 1983. Buffalo, New York, circa 1908. Buffalo Public Library, Lafayette Square. French film actress Brigitte Bardot, 1957. We wish you a pleasant video viewing, dear viewers. A crowd of charming ladies in bikinis in the 1970s. A very savvy mom uses a trash can in a unique way while she crochets in the park, 1969. The director of Edinburgh Zoo in Scotland took penguins out once a week to walk around the city as a promotional campaign, 1950. March 1909. A trio of Hartford, Connecticut newsies have been selling 2 years. Youngest, Yetta Weld, is 11 years old. Next, Rebecca Cohen is 12. Amazing photo of a child with a cigarette and a chicken from the 1920s. Street photography of Marilyn Monroe, early 1950s. French woman with baguette and 6 bottles of wine. Paris, France, 1945. Dorothea Lange in 1936 pictured atop a Ford Model T in California, while best known for her humanizing images of the Great Depression. Advertisement of Moskvich 427 car at an exhibition in the USA, 1971. Dorothea Lange in 1936 pictured atop a Ford Model T in California, while best known for her humanizing images of the Great Depression. September 1942. Batavia, New York. Elba Farm Labor Camp. Red Cross workers who fed the migrants on their first day in camp. September 1942. Richwood, West Virginia. Trainload of migratory workers, mostly high school students, many accompanied by family members. September 1942. Boys sleeping as best they can on special train from Richwood, West Virginia to Upper New York State to work in the harvest. December 1935. Main Street, Broad Street of Selma, Alabama. Charming actress Mamie Van Doren in 1955. American photo model Betty Page in the 1950s. Columbus, Georgia, circa 1955. Accident on 12th Street, sandwiched between the post office and Collins Snack Bar. It's October 2nd, 1960, and the boy is doomed youngster Ricky Stowell. Several 3-packs of 100% combed Cotton Boys briefs are being handed over. May 30th, 1967. Luxury apartments for single boys and girls in Los Angeles. Mission Boulevard in the Bay Area burg of Hayward, California. August 1960. Sophia Loren in stunning gown in the 1950s. Beautiful June Wilkinson in 1966. September 1942. Batavia, New York. Elba F is a farm labor camp. Boys and girls from West Virginia who came to Upper New York State to help in the harvest. July 1942. Detroit, Michigan. Boys and a girl on bicycles. May 1947. New York. Vivian Gary and Teddy Kay at Dixon's, the jazz bassist and her pianist, 2/3 of the Vivian Gary Trio. April 1942. Chicago, Illinois is all they wrote for this one. It seems to be a Sunday. Jane Mansfield in 1957. Fascinating Sophia Loren posing in 1957. July 1942. Detroit, Michigan. Looking down on a parking lot from the rear of the Fisher Building. May 1943. Bethlehem Fairfield Shipyards, Baltimore, Maryland. Portraits of the workers who turn out Liberty ship cargo transports. March 1942. Fort Bragg, North Carolina. 41st Engineers at Negro Camp taking advanced training. Sergeant Franklin Williams left. September 1942. Boy and girl from Richwood, West Virginia, en route to Upper New York State to work in the harvest. The Ronald Balcombs at Windsong, their home in Palm Beach. The car being a 1955. Stamford, Connecticut. Gloria Vanderbilt enjoys a picnic with her husband, Wyatt Cooper, and 2 sons by her marriage to Leopold Stokowski, Chris, 12, and Stan, 13. McCrory Fire, 21st November 2029. Washington, D.C. Firefighters at the McCrory 5 and Dime on 7th Street. It's 70 years ago, an idyllic Larkspur trademark, where we find me, bottom left corner. Armenian woman fighting, September 1956, Lower East Side, NY. Photo of drunken men under a bar in New York, NY, 1966. The work of two boys 10 and 11 years old in New York, NY, 1954. A guy with pigeons on the street in New York, NY. Rachel Welch in fur bikini in 1965. Beauty Sophia Loren posing for a photo in 1953.
Welcome, dear viewers. We wish you an enjoyable watching. Welcome, dear viewers. We wish you an enjoyable watching.
Hello guys. In this video you look beautiful rare photos.
click the subscribe button. Enjoy the show and here we go. it and click the subscribe button. Enjoy the show, and here we go. this photo for you, a beautiful retro woman. Bonus photo for you, a beautiful retro woman.